When he breaks your heart, it feels like the end of your world. But what if I told you it's actually the beginning of your power? Because when love shatters, it doesn't just destroy what was false, it awakens what's real. This is not the story of heartbreak. This is the story of your becoming. When he breaks your heart, it feels like the entire world collapses beneath your feet. The air feels heavier. Every song hurts. Every memory burns. And every piece of you wonders how something that once felt so right could leave you feeling so wronged. You start to question yourself, your worth, your choices. You replay moments trying to understand where it all went wrong. But what if I told you this pain you feel isn't your destruction? It's your awakening. Pain, no matter how unbearable, has one sacred purpose: to wake you up, to shake you from illusions, to strip away everything that was never real, never aligned with your true self. When someone breaks your heart, it's not the end of your story, it's the moment your real story begins. Pain comes to uncover what was hidden beneath your comfort, beneath your compromises, beneath the parts of you that settled for less because you wanted to keep the love you thought you couldn't live without. It's life's most honest teacher, revealing where you abandoned yourself to hold on to someone who didn't know how to hold you. And that realization, as cruel as it may feel, is sacred. It's the point where you stop chasing the illusion of love and start discovering what love truly is. True love never asks you to shrink. True love never demands you to silence your needs, to beg for attention, or to compete for space in someone's heart. Pain teaches you this truth not by whispering, but by tearing apart everything that isn't real. The heartbreak that shattered you wasn't there to destroy you. It came to remove the false version of you that thought love meant endurance rather than mutual respect. That thought that love was suffering, that love meant proving your worth, that love required pain. Pain comes to rewrite that story. When you stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as transformation, everything changes. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to show me? You realize that every tear you cry is washing away illusions. Every sleepless night is forging emotional strength. Every unanswered message is teaching you to listen to yourself instead. Pain pushes you to evolve, to grow, to become more conscious of your value. It's the darkness before the dawn, the storm that clears away all that was weak, so that only truth remains. So when he breaks your heart, don't curse the pain. Welcome it. Let it teach you. Let it open your eyes. Because pain, once embraced, becomes power. It's the moment you realize that losing him wasn't the tragedy. Losing yourself for him was. And now, with that pain as your guide, you rise. Not broken, but reborn. There comes a point after heartbreak when you realize that the power you thought he took from you was never truly his. It was yours all along. He didn't steal your strength. You handed it over piece by piece every time you prioritized his comfort over your peace. Every time you silenced your truth to keep him from leaving. Every time you thought love meant holding on instead of letting go. But when he broke your heart, he unknowingly gave you the greatest opportunity of your life. The chance to take back everything you once gave away. Reclaiming your power doesn't begin when you get revenge or make him regret. It begins when you stop needing him to see your worth in order to believe it yourself. You see, when you loved him, you built him up. You believed in him, supported him, and maybe even saved him from his own insecurities. But in doing so, you forgot the one person who needed saving the most, you. When he started taking your love for granted, it wasn't because you weren't enough. It was because he mistook your kindness for weakness. He thought your forgiveness meant you would always stay. Your patience meant you would always wait, and your love meant you would always accept less than you deserved. But that was his greatest mistake, because the moment you wake up and stop chasing the version of him that only existed in your hopes, you become something far more powerful than he ever imagined. A woman who no longer needs him to define her value. Reclaiming your power means choosing silence over explanations. You don't owe him closure, an argument, or even a final word. You become closure when you stop justifying why you're walking away. Power isn't loud, it's steady, calm, and untouchable. It's when you stop begging for respect and start embodying it. It's when you realize that your energy, your love, your time are gifts, and not everyone deserves access to them. When he breaks your heart, he expects tears. He expects you to chase, to prove your love. But when you don't, when you rise in silence and redirect that energy toward rebuilding yourself, it unsettles him. Because nothing breaks a man's ego more than realizing that the woman he thought he could take for granted no longer cares for his validation. The woman who once waited by the phone now walks with grace, her head high, her spirit unshaken. That's not indifference, it's evolution. So reclaim your power, not through revenge, but through self-respect. Let your peace be the punishment. Let your growth be the reminder. When you no longer respond, he will realize that he didn't just lose your love. He lost his access to your energy. And that's when your power returns, not because he gave it back, but because you finally remembered it was never his to begin with. There is a kind of silence that screams louder than any argument, louder than tears, louder than all the words you could ever say. It's the silence that comes after you've given your all, after you've tried to explain your heart and been met with indifference, after you've begged to be seen and realized he was never looking. That silence isn't weakness, it's power. Because silence isn't the absence of voice, it's the presence of self-control. It's the moment you decide that your energy is too sacred to waste on someone who listens only to feed his ego. When he breaks your heart, your greatest act of strength is not trying to make him understand. It's choosing to stop trying altogether. You see, when a man pulls away, he expects reaction. He expects you to chase, to question, to prove your love. He thrives on the idea that you can't live without him. That reaction feeds his ego. It reassures him that he still holds power over your emotions. But when you stop chasing, when you go quiet, when you match his distance with composure instead of desperation, something shifts. He starts to feel the very absence he never thought possible. Your silence becomes his mirror. It forces him to confront himself, to see what he's lost, to realize that the control he thought he had was only borrowed from your willingness to give it. Silence is not about playing games. It's about reclaiming your peace. It's choosing to no longer participate in cycles that exhaust your spirit. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that you don't need to prove your worth to someone who was too blind to see it. There's dignity in silence, a kind of elegance that words can't capture. Because when you stop speaking to defend yourself, you begin living in a way that speaks for you. Every time you choose silence over chaos, you grow stronger. Every time you resist the urge to explain your value, you remind yourself that true love doesn't need convincing. It recognizes, it respects, it reciprocates. The silence after heartbreak is not empty, it's full of transformation. It's where your soul begins to heal, where you start hearing your own voice again, the one you lost trying to be heard by him. It's where you realize that peace is louder than attention, that calm is more powerful than confrontation. In silence, you rediscover yourself, your passions, your boundaries, your strength. And when he finally notices your absence, when he tries to come back, hoping for the same woman he once knew, he'll find someone different, someone untouchable, because silence changes you. It doesn't just protect your heart, it rebuilds it. And that's the beauty of quiet power. It doesn't announce itself, but it's felt deeply. So let your silence speak for you. Let it echo with self-respect. Let it unsettle his ego, and let it remind you that the loudest statement you'll ever make is walking away in peace. When someone rejects you, it feels personal. It feels like they're rejecting your heart, your beauty, your essence, everything you offered with sincerity. You start to wonder what was wrong with you, why you weren't enough, why they didn't stay, why love wasn't enough to make them see your worth. But the truth is, rejection is never about your value. It's about alignment. It's life's way of pulling you away from what was never meant to grow you and guiding you towards something higher. When he rejects you, he's not defining your worth. He's revealing his own limits. And in that moment, you're given a powerful choice. You can stay stuck in the pain of what ended, or you can transform. That pain pain into the fire that reinvents you. Reinvention doesn't start when you forget him. It starts when you remember yourself. It begins the moment you stop seeking validation from someone who couldn't appreciate your presence. The energy you once gave to holding on must now be used to rebuild yourself. Every piece of your broken heart becomes material for your evolution. Rejection becomes the sculptor, and you, the masterpiece in progress. You no longer wait to be chosen, you choose yourself. You no longer chase love, you become love. Because the most powerful transformation happens when you realize that what walked away didn't take your worth with it. It only made space for something better to enter. The beauty of rejection is that it strips away illusion. It shows you who you were pretending to be just to be loved. It forces you to see where you abandoned yourself in the name of keeping someone else comfortable. It invites you to create a new version of yourself that doesn't beg for love, but radiates it naturally. The pain of rejection is real, but so is the opportunity it carries. The opportunity to rise wiser, stronger, and more authentic than ever before. Every time you rise after being rejected, you rewrite your story. You teach yourself that your worth is not dependent on who stays, but on who you become when others leave. You learn to trust life again, to trust that endings are not punishments, but redirections. You start to see the beauty in loss, the kind that builds depth, compassion, and clarity. What once felt like betrayal becomes the catalyst for rebirth. So when he rejects you, thank the universe for the revelation. Thank it for removing what was blocking your growth. Then turn inward, heal, build, evolve, reinvent yourself in such a way that his rejection becomes the very thing that awakened your power. Because in the end, the best response to rejection isn't revenge, it's reinvention. It's showing life that no matter who leaves, you will always rise, you will always bloom again. And this time, you'll do it not to be seen, but because you finally see yourself. When he breaks your heart, his ego expects you to fall apart. It expects you to chase, to prove your love, to show that he still has a hold over you. It feeds on your pain, on your tears, on your desperate attempts to remind him of what you had. But the moment you stop giving him that satisfaction, the moment you choose silence, self-respect, and healing over reaction, his ego begins to starve, because an ego thrives on attention, even negative attention. It needs your energy to feel powerful. But when you detach, when you rise above the chaos, you stop being his source of validation. That's when the tables turn. That's when his illusion of control begins to crumble. Flourishing after heartbreak isn't about pretending you're fine. It's about rebuilding yourself so powerfully that your glow becomes the quietest revenge. The most beautiful transformation happens not when you try to make him see your worth, but when you no longer care if he does. You stop checking if he's watching your stories. You stop wondering if he regrets losing you. Instead, you pour that same energy into yourself, into your passions, your peace, your growth. You start to remember who you were before the pain, and you start creating who you're meant to be after it. The version of you that rises from heartbreak is not just stronger, she's wiser, more grounded, more radiant. And while you flourish, his ego begins to weaken, because nothing confuses an ego more than a woman who doesn't seek closure, who doesn't chase, who doesn't compete. When you no longer respond to his games, his silence, or his mixed signals, he starts to realize he's not in control anymore. His power was never real. It only existed because you gave him access to your emotions. Once you withdraw that access, his pride begins to crumble. He starts to feel your absence, not as emptiness, but as loss, because your energy was the mirror that made him feel significant. Letting his ego starve doesn't mean being cruel. It means being focused. It means realizing that every minute spent thinking about him is a minute stolen from your healing. The best revenge is not showing him what he lost. It's living so well that he no longer even fits in your world. You don't need to prove that you've moved on. Your peace will prove it for you. You don't need to announce your glow up. It will speak louder than any post, louder than any word. So let him watch from a distance while you rise. Let him see you become everything he didn't appreciate. Because the truth is, his ego can't survive where your peace begins. The more you heal, the less power he has. And that's how you truly break his ego. Not through anger, not through revenge, but through evolution. by flourishing so brightly that his memory fades in the light of your growth. Healing after heartbreak is not a linear journey, and it is not a destination that comes quickly. It is a process, a deliberate reclaiming of your heart, your energy, and your spirit from the person who underestimated your worth. When he breaks your heart, the world may feel heavy, as though the weight of loss will crush you. Every memory, every word, every moment you shared can seem like a chain that holds you captive to the past. But healing is the ultimate victory precisely because it frees you from those chains. It is not about getting back at him, proving him wrong, or making him regret his actions. Healing is about rising above the need for validation from someone who failed to see your value, about transforming pain into power, and about recognizing that your life does not depend on his choices or his approval. The first step in true healing is acknowledgement. You must allow yourself to feel the heartbreak fully without judgment or suppression. The tears, the anger, the questions, these are not signs of weakness. They are the language of the soul telling you that something needs attention, that something inside you is asking for care. Healing requires patience with yourself, understanding that your worth is not diminished by someone else's inability to love you correctly. The process involves turning inward, nurturing the parts of you that were neglected while you invested too much in him, and rebuilding the foundation of your self-esteem from the ground up. As you heal, you begin to reclaim your autonomy. You no longer wait for him to call, to apologize, or to acknowledge the pain he caused. You no longer define your happiness by his presence or absence. This is the point at which true victory emerges, when you realize that you are whole, that you are enough, and that your life is rich and meaningful even without him. Healing transforms heartbreak from a wound into a lesson. It teaches resilience, self-awareness, and the power of self-love. Each step forward, each day that passes without obsession or bitterness, becomes proof of your strength. Healing also changes the way you see the world. You learn to value yourself in ways you never did before. You set boundaries that protect your energy and refuse to settle for anything less than respect, love, and mutual effort. You become attuned to your own needs and desires, creating a life that reflects your inner worth. And in this transformation, the ultimate truth becomes clear. The greatest revenge is not to hurt him or make him regret. It is to live fully, unapologetically, and vibrantly. It is to shine so brightly that the memory of what was lost cannot dim the brilliance of your present. The ultimate victory lies not in his realization of your value, but in your own unwavering acknowledgement of it. Healing is empowerment, freedom, and self-discovery all at once. It is the act of reclaiming your heart and soul, and it is a victory that no one can take away. As you rise above heartbreak, your peace becomes your power, and that power is unstoppable. Healing proves that even after being broken, you can become stronger, wiser, and more radiant than ever before.